All right, good Tuesday morning, everyone. Thanks for stopping by for a quick check of your forecast. We have got a windy day ahead of us here on our Tuesday, but today is going to kind of pale in comparison to the winds we expect on Wednesday. Tomorrow, going to be a weather alert day. That's the title of this forecast, so hopefully you guys kind of already know what's going on. But we had a beautiful sunset last night. That's a time lapse of that camera there in Bushland. You can see those pinks and oranges as those high cirrus clouds and alto stratus clouds move through the region. Those, again, are in and out of the region this morning. We can see a few more starting to work their way in from the west, expecting some partly cloudy skies today, but still quite a bit of sunshine. But there will be a little bit more cloud cover in around the area today than there was yesterday. Our next weather maker making its way onshore right now on the coast of California, just inundating the Sierra Nevadas with a lot of heavy snow and then rain down in the lower elevations. Again, they're just getting pummeled by atmospheric river after atmospheric river, and they could see another 10 to 15 inches over the next 7 to 12 days. So it's just going to cause them loads of problems. Again, probably one of the most wet events that they've seen in California probably in the last century. So definitely a historic system coming through of all that rain and moisture pummeling California. They're going to be seeing some flood concerns, landslide issues probably for the next couple of weeks. Here's a look at our current conditions outside. We are in the 40s and 50s for the most part. We've got 27 on the thermometer there in Guyman, and then 33 up in Perryton, 39 in Clovis. And winds are breezy right now. You can see really strong winds up along the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, and that's that jet streak starting to move into the region. That's going to be what helps us become windy this afternoon. Winds are already very breezy out there this morning. And unfortunately, with the strong winds, dry conditions, warm temperatures, kind of a perfect recipe for fire weather conditions between noon and 6 o'clock this evening. Temperatures will climb into the 70s, feeling more like April rather than January. We actually have fire weather warnings in effect from noon to 6 here in the Texas Panhandle, and then from noon to 5 back in eastern New Mexico. So that's where we'll have critical fire conditions on the Cap Rock, and including a few locations like Donley and Hall County in the southeast side of the Texas Panhandle. Winds could gust up to 45 miles per hour today, mostly in the southwest two-thirds of the region. Winds won't be as bad in the east, but still on the very breezy side, and winds get a lot worse on Wednesday. So we have a weather alert day in place for Wednesday. Make sure that you're securing all the loose items in the yard, probably before you go to school or work today. They'll have the tendency to blow around, if not away, and then we'll have that fire danger area wide tomorrow. Fire weather watch highlighting the whole area. Zooming out, it's really covering most of West Texas and eastern New Mexico, all the way down towards the Big Bend region, and then even parts of western Oklahoma. That's where critical fire conditions more than likely going to develop on our Wednesday. We have a high wind watch highlighting a good chunk of the region. This is kind of the area where that potential for high wind warning criteria could reside tomorrow. So it's not exactly where we're going to see the highest winds. I don't think all of us will be under a high wind warning, but probably a fairly large swath of us will end up under one, and then the rest of us will fall under wind advisories. But the exact areas with those warnings won't come to fruition until the National Weather Service offices in the surrounding areas don't issue those or will issue those either late tonight or early tomorrow morning. Again, we'll probably see them before 3 o'clock on Wednesday morning start to come into effect before they issue them. So strong winds could gust between 50 and 65 miles per hour. That's going to cause some difficult travel conditions if you're going north or south on places like 385, I-27, the east and west sides of the loop here in Amarillo, 207, so Highway 87 up towards Dumas. So just be careful if you're going to be out there on the roads. The winds are going to be really strong, especially for those lightweight, high-profile vehicles. Blowing dust also going to become a nuisance, and then we'll end up more than likely seeing a cold front come through around 5, 6 o'clock for the Oklahoma Panhandle, and winds more than likely very strong behind it as well. This is a very potent system passing to our north. That means we get dry slotted, no moisture for us, just a lot of wind, and that's probably going to bring in more of a dust bowl vibe with it when the front comes crashing through. I would not be surprised if there's a wall of dust crashing south tomorrow evening. So for all the photographers out there, if you want to get some dust bowl experience, you definitely probably have that chance as we move into Wednesday evening up towards Guyman and Perryton, and more specifically southwest Kansas. You're elevated to critical fire threat. It's going to be area wide tomorrow. Make sure you're avoiding the activities that could start a fire. Unfortunately, with winds that strong, it will be hard to contain a fire if it did erupt. Make sure that you've got those tow chains off the ground when you're pulling a trailer or something behind the vehicle. A lot of the times that's how sometimes if some people are just dragging something behind the vehicle, they don't necessarily know that they're starting fires in the ditch. That's happened several times in the last few years. And then cigarette butts as well, been a big issue with some of those fires starting in the ditch. So make sure that those go in the ashtray rather than out the window. Let's walk through the computer model real quick. Lots of 70s today. We may even hit the 80s for Childress and Paducah this afternoon. As we move into the overnight hours, we'll have some cloud cover roll through the area, and that's going to help keep us a bit more mild with those breezier winds at 10 to 20 miles per hour. So we start off in the low 40s. We end up in the 60s tomorrow afternoon. The National Weather Service in Amarillo did mention this morning. We do not expect a southern Great Plains wildfire outbreak. And one reason for that is because temperatures tomorrow are going to be colder and our humidity values are going to be higher. But this is going to be predominantly a wind-driven fire concern event where the winds will be sustained probably at maybe even above 40 miles per hour on the caprock and then gusting up to and even over 60 miles per hour. That cold front also going to pack a punch with it as well, and that's why we're expecting winds to still gust up to 50 in the overnight hours as we see the sun set to about midnight before winds start to relax a little bit. Our temperature trend for the next 6 to 10 days, lots of warm weather. Looks like winter has just said goodbye, and we'll see maybe return in February or March, but for the time being, it does not look like it is going to be very cool here in the high plains. Our 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, we've got a couple of small cutoff lows that are going to come through the central plains, maybe the southern plains over the next few weeks. Again, we'll have to have kind of the perfect setup. Again, it's hard to see those come all together. And again, trying to depict where exactly they come across the mountains because they get lost up there in the higher terrain, especially with model guidance. But if one comes, just to our south, wouldn't be surprised if we see some precipitation chances with it. But at the moment, a lot of them come directly overhead and just to our north. So that's why you have that higher confidence in seeing above average precipitation in parts of Kansas, Nebraska, because that's where most of the active precipitation may come through with some of those cutoff lows over the next couple of weeks. Here's your highs for today. 71 in Amarillo. Our record high set back in 1990 is 74 degrees. So we probably stayed just shy of it, but we are going to flirt with it. And then 81 in Childress, 82 in Paducah. Very warm day today and very windy as well. Lows will tumble to the 30s and 40s tonight. Highs Wednesday in the 50s and 60s for most of us. Mid 70s for those lower elevations like Childress and Paducah. And then Thursday morning, we start off seasonal in the 20s to low 30s with highs that afternoon climbing back up to around 50 degrees. John, Stephen, Lori, and Becky, thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys are doing well today. If you're looking for rain, you may have to look in a different month here. Again, we've got that slightly above average chance as we move into the second half of the month, but really not high on those chances right now. Confidence very low that we actually see the moisture come to fruition. So don't get your hopes up. We are a day closer than we were yesterday. Hopefully we transition out of La Nina pretty quick this spring, and that brings us some near average precipitation as we go through the summer months, which is when we see a predominant chunk of our rainfall here in moisture here in the high plains. Yes, John, we would love to have a Groundhog Day. Yesterday was phenomenal. I spent a lot of time out in the yard yesterday afternoon. But looks like that's all we've got going on. Hope you guys do well today. Enjoy the warmer weather. Just make sure you're staying away from the activities that could start a fire. Several of us are under a burn ban notice. We'll get a look at that coming up in your midday forecast.